we got some real good news topics to discover today.
To discover?
Yeah, to discover amongst each other, because I've discovered them, but you guys may have not. See that? See how I saved that?
Must
Not
not be
really.
news if I've never heard of it.
All right, twitter.com, Josh_Carmen. That's the only one you really need to know.
All right.
Oh, and T-Student Life and Marion Ranch. Okay, moving on.
He doesn't love you, James.
Apple wins the ruling in the New York iPhone hacking order.
Wonderful news.
Okay, so James, I know you're super passionate about this, and you actually have some pretty good logic this time regarding, your defense of
I'm not sure I have any of this.
Apple's privacy. So, if you're not aware, there was this problem in San Bernardino a couple months ago, December-ish, right?
Yeah.
Where there was a mass shooting, extremely tragic. It was done by some Islamic extremists who we know don't represent the majority of Islam, who don't represent my personal Muslim friends, the majority of Muslims that I know. And so it's important to, kind of make that distinction. So on their iPhone, they found the perpetrator's iPhone, and they wanted Apple to create some type of software that would allow them a backdoor entry into this phone. And so Tim Cook made a very big and not big, but just a very declarative and specific stand that there would be no utilization of backdoor anything with this, and because they didn't want to set a precedent for future iPhone cases or anything like that. And so it's gone to the courts. They're talking about it there, and they want to understand why, or the government doesn't understand why they won't help. And then Apple's talking about just the type of precedent that this could create. So, Chris, let me get your thoughts on this as we start.
Yeah, I'm probably with James. You're on Apple's side, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm on Apple's side on this.
Yeah,
one
so
too,
tell
for sure.
me why.
Well, first, there's been all kinds of weird stories. I don't know, maybe you've seen some of these too, about how the FBI kind of bungled things and ended up locking the phone themselves. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, supposedly
yeah.
there's
Okay.
proof that it was unlocked while they had it.
Yeah, when they first got it, and then somebody changed the password or something like that, and so that they really were the ones who screwed the pooch on all of this. But one of the interesting things is it seems that some people think that Apple could just flip a switch and unlock it. But it's not that simple. I'm sure James could probably elaborate on it better than I. But basically, Apple would have to devote people to work to unlock the phone. And the government's not going to reimburse them. So even all privacy things aside, the government is trying to force people to do work for free, which
That's problematic.
Yeah, you can't really do that anymore in
King
America.
Solomon days right now. Yeah.
So I'm definitely on Apple's side on this one, on the privacy side, on work side. Any way you look at it.
Well,
Yeah,
it's one of those things that you make a tool, let's say, for the best of reasons, and maybe this could be the best of reasons. But once that tool is now created and designed and it's in the hands of the government, it can be used for any reason. And that's when it becomes a real problem, right? We need the government to be effective. We need law enforcement to be effective. But at the same time, we need a way to protect our own privacies as long as we are operating within the law ourselves. And making a tool like this puts our side of that pact in danger, right? We don't want our privacies completely removed. We want to have a degree of privacy as long as we can prove that we are operating within the law. And
Well, actually, we don't even have to prove we're operating within the law. They have to
Right,
prove
that's
we
true.
aren't.
right, that's true. I don't mean to say like in a legal court situation, but just in the idea that not all privacy is protected, but certain
Right.
lawful privacy is protected. And this puts lawful privacy at risk.
And so,
Well, that's the problem with it. I mean, I don't. I think the privacy thing is kind of a joke. If you're a terrorist and you kill a bunch of people, you're kind of done with wanting privacy.
Right.
The problem is, and this argument is getting ridiculous because there's both sides of it. So there's the FBI director, whoever is studying this, saying, "Oh, we only wanted to use this one time." And then
James Comey is the FBI director.
yeah, and people went, "Oh no, you don't want to use this just one time. You want to look at everyone's iPhone." And then he's like, "No, I didn't." And then there's proof that within the request there is a few other phones they want unlocked. And so it's
Yeah,
like,
so-
he just made a public statement saying that's the only one they want to do. So I think there's some fishy stuff going on, and that makes this way more complicated. I mean, I think if you're a terrorist or if you're a murderer and you kill someone, and for the sake of investigation, especially if you're connected to a larger group of illegal individuals breaking the law, I think that we should use every tool possible to find those connections and find those people.
Yeah, I think FBI has the right to go through their phone at this point, but I don't think they have the right to force Apple to break the encryption
Yeah.
and do all that work. And basically undo all their own stuff.
Now, I'm surprised that the FBI isn't able to do this on their own.
I would think they would.
Right? That's where I've been real shocked is that
Well, there's
I'm pretty
theories that
sure
they
there are
already
plenty of
have.
hackers who can.
Yeah,
And
4-digit PIN code. Oh, no.
If some hobbyist hackers can do things like this,
I don't know.
the FBI
encryption's
should be
supposed
able to.
I don't know a whole lot about encryption, but it's supposed to be pretty state of the art, from what I've read. But
Well, is this different than the iCloud hacking that happened last year?
and that's kind of part of the reason why the encryption's better.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Well,
And wasn't the iCloud hacking? Wasn't that like
It was all phishing too.
Yeah,
getting
and it
people's
was being
passwords. It
pretty,
wasn't
and
actual
they had to be
hacking.
like pretty close to the people they were trying
Yeah.
to hack, right? It was something that was happening more or less
So
in
it
the
was
room.
phishing.
Kind of
They got their password, and
right.
so basically your own fault kind of hack.
got it.
And the issue with this is that the phone shuts down after a certain amount of attempts.
Yeah, after
Yeah.
10 attempts,
And-
all the data is erased.
It breaks it.
So,
Yeah.
and
And
here's
they just want them to remove that, and then they'll hack
Yeah.
it, basically.
here's the interesting thing. So you were right. So James Comey said that the scope of the FBI's case, wanting to limit it to just one phone, was what helps bolster the validity of what they were trying to say. And then it came out that they have asked for Apple's help in some variation of a hack form or another on at least a dozen different iPhone cases. So they are seeming to be liars in the eyes of the
So it seems
public
like.
there, and so it doesn't come out looking well for them. And this article is from The Atlantic, theatlantic.com, written by Kaveh Waddle. So we can Waddell, Waddell, Anyway, and then
That's who rappers are talking about. I always wondered.
Waddle. And
Waddle.
so, and then interestingly enough, to help add to the mixture of weirdness to this for me, the precedents that the FBI is saying that this comes from is the All Writs Act or All Rights Act, a 1789 law, which has been used to compel landline phone service providers to help the FBI conduct phone taps. So when we talk about and debate the validity of laws that are that old in an ever-changing society and kind of constantly growing, and even with the writers talking of the Constitution and the Declaration wanting things to be updated every so often, is a law like that still valid to try and appeal to? I mean, should we? Obviously it is because they tried to appeal to it. But, I mean, do you appeal to a law from over 200 years ago for something like that?
The court systems do that all the time.
I mean,
That's pretty much how it's all run.
so everything is built based on precedents at that point. So it's just an interesting thing to think about, considering this notion of that would have never been something that they would have envisioned or could have envisioned. So
That's why. By the way, court trials are much more important than you think, because it's not only about whoever's on trial, but every court trial sets a precedent for future litigation.
Right.
So, think about like Roe versus Wade, right? Like
Yeah.
that wasn't just a one-time thing; it sets a precedent for evermore. And so, every court trial is incredibly important.
So explain to me, not that I want this because it sounds absolutely terrifying, but why can't the federal government have access to people's cell phones only if they get court-ordered warrants and things like that? Don't they already have that? Isn't that already how they access data sometimes in people's accounts? And
They're not supposed to. That was the whole kerfluffle with the NSA
and Verizon stuff.
the metadata they were collecting and all that. But your phone has been ruled as part of your personal property.
But with a warrant, they
So
could.
with the warrant they could, but it's be the same as coming in and searching your house.
Right.
They can't check, like if you get pulled over, a cop can't just go through your phone. They would need a warrant, the same
Right.
as to go into your car or your permission.
I mean, this case is so public and so tragic. I would assume that they would have the legal justification to look into someone's
They
phone.
have-
Well, it's not so
yeah, they
much
can look
whether they
into
can
it.
look into
Yeah.
the phone; it's that can they force Apple to help them look into
Right.
the phone?
Yeah,
Right.
and that's where it gets stickier.
And they can force me to go to jury duty. I mean, that's working for free.
Well,
So-
you actually
That's your
at
obligation.
some point you actually sign an obligation to that.
Yeah.
There's-
Oh, I signed
you've-
that I would?
you've-
Yeah, it's 2 days after you turn 18. You got to have that turned
And
in
if
by.
I don't sign that,
They come after you. You do that when you. I'm serious. You do
Sounds
that when
like
you
they're
register
forcing
for
me.
the draft.
Selective service. That's for
Yep.
the draft.
And also
sounds
jury
like they're
duty.
forcing me.
Okay, so so go Apple. Good job, privacy.
just get better GPUs.
Yeah. Also new and important. The Pentagon, the Pentagon.
The Pentagon.
Is launching pilot project which challenges hackers to test federal cybersecurity. I like this. I think this is super
I
rad
think it's a little dangerous.
because
They were basically saying, "Come
challenging.
at us." Hey, come at me, bros.
well, no. Here's this. Okay, just so it's not what you're thinking. The article written by Cassidy Moser. To do so, the Pentagon will select a number of vetted hackers and place them in front of predetermined public-facing systems. No sensitive info will be subjected to hacking attempts in this round. And here it says the goal is not to compromise any aspect of the crucial systems, but to still challenge our cybersecurity in innovative ways. And in order to qualify, applicants must be U.S. citizens and be willing to submit to a background check.
There's nothing new about this.
during
Yeah, that happens
registration.
all the time.
Yeah, I just think this is incredible
No,
that
they've
we're,
been
that
doing
we're
it
using
like
this.
basically since cybersecurity was
Became a thing?
Yeah, they have competitions. Even private companies will do a competition, like try and hack our website. There's $1,000 prize if you can, or whatever.
Or like a lot of them get offered jobs, right?
Yeah.
Because they're so good at cybersecurity.
Yeah, this is the exact story of Penelope on Criminal Minds, right? She's an underground hacker. Do we know?
I don't know. We
Oh,
don't watch
really?
that show.
Okay, whatever. man.
actually,
What's the award here?
that's how DDoS attacks were discovered. Was there's a private company who's like the business they've chosen for themselves is they just take on systems and they try to hack
And-
them as bad as they can until they figure out a way to get in. Then they report that to the
Present it,
company,
right.
and they essentially sell what they found to the company itself and the
We'll
fix
close
for that.
these doors for
And
X
when
amount of money.
essentially they discovered DDoS, and then it wasn't taken seriously, and then that's when all this DDoS they were like, oh, thanks for a way to hack these people, and then it started happening.
Here's
a lot.
what is interesting about this one, though, that this is the actual first time that the Pentagon has reached outside of its own walls to asking for help.
Its own 5 walls.
And so, right. So that's kind of cool. They're moving out. They're realizing that we've got some. So I'm thinking about
Good way to get a job is
I'm
to do
thinking
well
about participating
with this.
in this round. I'm going to use my Mac and then call a genius. And when we get there,
I'm
and
trying to
try.
log into my work email. And can you help me out?
Can you give me a hand here?
at gov.com.
So, good job, Pentagon. Good job, Apple. And now, good job, Six Flags and Samsung for making a VR roller coaster.
I'm super excited about
Boom.
this. It's better than it sounds at first, because
How do
when
you make
we
a
first
VR?
saw this, I thought, well, it's a roller coaster program in a VR. We all expected that, and then
I
I,
had that in
read
Roller
what
Coaster Tycoon.
it was, and it's way more awesome than that. So you're on a real roller coaster wearing VR, and in the VR world, you're in a space alien attack flying through it.
You are a pilot of a fighter
So it's
jet.
like Star Tours, but with VR.
But a roller coaster.
And a roller coaster.
instead of just a
going
movement.
60 miles an hour. I love.
I don't know how I feel about that.
No, you're wrong.
I mean, you're going to feel the
love-
wind, and if I was in a starship, I would not feel wind.
Okay, come on. You're already
I
trying
don't know.
to.
I've been
It
I've
didn't
been
say,
ejected. Oh wait, the vacuum of space would be killing me.
I didn't. When I read it, it didn't
Okay, look,
necessarily
it's-
say it was
it's-
space.
it's stuff
it was
like
just
that.
an
Oh,
alien
okay.
attack.
Yeah, you're piloting a fighter jet during an alien
So it's the
invasion.
end of Independence Day.
So I climbed into
Fighter
a
jet.
World War One
Fighter jet.
aeroplane,
A Hellcat
This is where
missile
we learned that
launching
Garrett hates
fighter
VR.
jet.
60 miles an hour.
Like
as
it's
fast as
this.
they can go.
This is the exact
hard
reason
sci-fi
we don't
rules.
have anything nice. This is the reason why we're so
No,
far
we can't have
behind.
anything nice because the Oculus Rift is like $700.
600 to start. That's why their crap
That's why I
sucks.
can't have
Okay, I'm
anything
gonna bring
nice.
my Google Viewmaster.
But this is why
my-
Japan is beating us in
Google Cardboard.
everything VR, because we have people like this constantly complaining about being in space during a roller coaster ride. You can't
We
even,
need- we
you
need
can't
a-
even enjoy it anymore.
We need a GIF of Garrett in a roller coaster just like this, with a VR in his head.
I'm not saying I
and a
wouldn't
big
enjoy it. I'm
grimace
just
on
saying
his
it's just
face.
ridiculous.
I don't know what you're talking about because GIF is not a real thing. GIFs, though, of Garrett in a roller coaster would be fantastic. Yes.
Yeah.
The G stands for graphics.
G.
The guy who invented
Giraffic.
it gets to name it.
Yep. Guy who invented it gets to name it.
Unless he names it wrong.
Right.
All right. And then the last not so good job is a South Carolina teacher has recently been fired after a student steals her phone and distributes a nude photo of her. So I'll read a little bit more for the context here.
Seems a little unfair.
And I kind of want to get your guys'
A mastermind hacker clearly was involved.
no, it was an Apple genius. So the lady, Leanne Arthur, a high school teacher in
Now we know her name. That's embarrassing.
well, it's on the article.
Feel bad.
A high school teacher in Union County, South Carolina, so classic place, says that she was forced to resign after a student stole her phone and shared that photo of her. According to Arthur, a 16-year-old boy took her phone while she was momentarily out of the classroom. What she was doing, we don't know. The phone, which was sitting on her desk, contained a photograph that she had taken for her husband as a Valentine's Day gift. The phone was passed to multiple students, and the photograph was copied and shared throughout the school. So the New York Times reports that David Eubanks, who's the superintendent of the school district, said that she was in large part to blame since she had allowed students to use her phone in the past. It became a regular piece of equipment that they used in the classroom, he told the Times. Knowing that, why did she put that type of photograph on her cell phone? So
that's still a pretty weak excuse.
That kind of changes things a little bit because I heard the headline on the radio. I didn't hear the whole thing. I heard she had left the class because it was between periods or something, but if that is an interesting question. If she was regularly letting students use her phone,
right. And so here's the other case, the other portion of the he said, she said. So after 4 days, Eubanks becomes aware of the incident. He gave Arthur the choice to resign or to face due process procedures. He insists that she chose to resign, and she says that she was forced out. There, so more kind of conflicting stories in that regard. So,
well, when the or is like due process, that probably feels like being forced out.
Yeah. Okay. So she quotes,
kind of saying the same thing.
The whole premise of my privacy being invaded, his being ignored, and that's what
absolutely.
And that's what's
what
wrong.
happened to the students? They get expelled.
And let's see. I don't think it.
I think the kid got in trouble.
Yeah.
He got a grounding.
He stole someone's private device. You know, I mean, what if she let students use it months ago? I don't know.
He did
She
more
takes
than
a
that.
picture.
He ruined a woman's career.
Yeah.
And
she takes a picture and goes, okay, well, now I'm not going to let students use it, so I'm going to put it in my purse. And he goes in and steals it from her at this point.
Well,
That's like me. No, I would never do this. That's like me telling a student,
the phone
hey,
was the
here's
phone
the keys
wasn't
in my
in her,
car. I need you to go and get
the phone wasn't in her purse. The phone was on her desk.
Whatever.
So it
But
wasn't.
it's kind of weird because it's digital, right? Because I mean, like 15 years ago, if she had had pictures of herself like that and had taken them to school for any reason, like if they had been in her purse,
Yeah, I mean
or something,
that would have been pretty easy.
but it still would have been weird. Like, why do you even have that
Right,
there? You
right.
can't. I mean, you can't take like a knife on a campus. You can't take
Nude photos.
tobacco.
Yeah.
I mean, any of that kind of stuff.
You know, it could have been like on her iCloud sort of situation too, and that makes it murky.
Yeah, so, I mean, the whole digital thing. It's a brave new world.
Like these are the situations where you, like, there is something to be said that there's some responsibility on her side for having it on her phone and leaving her phone there, knowing what students do. And I'm not gonna pretend like there's like zero responsibility on her part. But at the end of the day, the ultimate cause here is a student broke into her private space, found something very sensitive, and then
I'm surprised she
spread
didn't
it,
have her phone locked.
then sent it to all these other students in the school. It's that student's fault.
Right.
And maybe she needs a reprimand
Right.
and maybe needs to get into some sort of trouble, but lose your entire career over this.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I can't
The
agree
other-
with
We're
that.
obsessed with nudity and sexuality. That it's. I mean, this is a terrible thing that happened to her, and she's getting in trouble because we don't know how to handle an adult nudity in the hands of a child. You know, it's just ridiculous. Like in
Yeah.
Europe, they'd be like, "Pfft, whatever. You know, like.
And the thing
no
about
big deal.
schools
that's our exemplar for.
Yeah, and the thing about schools is, you know, you might have had an awkward year or two after this, but students move on. And you get
I don't know. That just seems like the kind of thing that might pop back up every year.
Yeah, I would like move her to a different school
transfer
within the
schools
district.
probably, yeah.
And then
Yeah,
not-
but
not
schools
talk about
act
it.
very autonomously. It's not like you can just move somebody, right? You'd
I
have
mean,
to
if I'm
have
a
another school
superintendent,
with
I
a
can't.
Depends on
tinker.
the school district because some school districts you can.
Yeah,
could
some
s-
you're able.
yeah.
So, just kind of interesting. The county school district maintains that the photograph isn't the problem. Their objection again is that it's her improper supervision of her private property that led to her
If you're
firing.
going to bring something like that to school, you
which I
better
don't-
keep an eye on.
I-
it.
That's legalese, though. I mean, that's them just coming up with the best legal defense for what they chose to do. I think.
like I want to be in agreement with them because I feel like you should be very leery and aware
Yeah,
of that.
she
But
should-
at the
she
same
needs a
time, it's like,
reprimand.
dude, you don't get like cans for that because she had been a teacher for 13 years in that school district.
Right.
So it's like, dude, what a
Yeah,
Hey,
I mean,
like-
that logic is reprimand worthy.
right. Does
I
that
would
does that
say.
cross the line into like a victim blaming? Is that kind of what's occurring here?
Okay,
To-
well, I don't want to get too personal, but we work with students, and something like this could
I keep
potentially-
zero nude photos
No.
on my phone.
Okay, I agree. So do I. But I
One
mean,
of your brothers.
A student taking your phone and then taking advantage of some of the material that's on it could happen because we work with students, and then to lose your job over something, an action a student did while you were out of the room, seems a little extreme. You know.
I totally agree, but I never leave my phone unattended. Ever.
Yeah, but
for any reason whatsoever.
Yeah, but that's kind of besides the
Especially-
point.
I don't.
Well, I mean, it's for her. Yeah, in her case, it's beside the point. But I'm saying it's hard for me to. I feel bad for her. I don't think she should have been fired, but it's hard for me to relate to
Sure.
what happened for her.
Negligence, just being.
Yeah, it's hard for me to grasp the negligence that occurred in that regard. Just because if, like, I just never. That would not even be a thing for me to do something like that.
All your
Especially if there was
boudoir photos you took
Right.
for Valentine's Day.
Right. And so if I've got anything on there that's even remotely risque, I would never have that in the hands of a student or leave it out. It would just stay in my pocket. / I would delete it in my car before I went into work. Like I wouldn't do something like that if I had something of my wife or whatever. So it's that part's hard for me, but
But
again, I'm
that's not the hypothetical that Garrett is posing to you. Garrett's posing to you the situation where you act out of character and it's left, and then a student gets into your stuff. I am very paranoid about all my things. If you ask my wife, my wallet is in my pocket or it's in this little tray
wallet?
that it always goes to, and that's my character, right? And 99.999% of the time, I can attest that that's always the way it is. But there's always gonna be that instance where I break character that
and
somehow.
yeah, that doesn't exist for me. I don't know.
Well, then you're not human. And there's another question we have to ask about Josh Carmen now.
I mean, a student could have found it and be like, "Oh, look at this," and then, but for him to take I assume, to take the
It was a
time
guy,
to
yeah.
share it and copy it and send it throughout
Right.
the school.
And that's the over the line part right
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
But also, if she let them use her phone all the time, then he didn't really steal the phone.
well,
If she had it-
he improperly sent out.
But if she
Her,
left it in the
something
classroom
that-
as something like a tool for all those students,
Which I don't
to
know,
use-
But
can't-
there's
I
two
can't even see
crimes
that
here.
situation. Why would I do-
There's the potential crime of him using her phone,
Right.
which is debatable. Like,
The
is that a
access.
crime or not? Then there's the crime of sharing what he found, which is an added intentional act.
right.
I want to know why she let students use her phone all the time. Is it?
I kind of feel like she probably didn't. This is probably one of those things
Yeah, I was kind of
where
wondering
Yeah.
that too. Is she suing for wrongful termination?
Doesn't say right
I
now.
also wonder how different it would be in in California than South Carolina. Is that where it happened?
Yeah.
If things would be looked at differently.
But
or
what has been interesting, it says that
Wonder if it was a
she
guy
has the
instead of a
support
girl.
of the students.
He wouldn't
a
even
guy
be-
would be done. He would, like, it wouldn't
probably
even
go to jail.
Yeah, it wouldn't even be a question if it had been a male teacher.
Probably go to jail.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
I
a
don't
good
know.
question.
I wonder if he would
Come
even
on,
get
look at
fired at
the
all.
female teachers that have been sleeping with students, and they get like 2-3 years in jail.
Oh, well, yeah.
That's fair. Those situations only usually come out when there's a pregnancy that happens too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, there seems there's been a rash of them lately.
Really? I've not noticed that.
in the
Do you
news
feel
and
like
stuff.
this case, James, sets precedent for future scenarios like this? It's not a case because it's not going as far as I know. It's
I
not
feel like
going-
the internet age is probably setting the precedent now. I mean, that's a fact of the matter. We're all, as a populace, investing in a platform that is way more open than we realize. And I know a lot of people that still treat Facebook like a private conversation. It's like there's certain
I hate
people,
you, Amy. Wait, what? Why are you posting that on
Right.
on your own status?
I mean, there's a professor where I work that he sends private messages as just the normal
like
me
comments?
to you comments. I'm like, please stop, please stop, please.
By the way, you left your social security card here. I sent a picture.
Also, is this your credit card? I didn't know that's how you spelled your last name. That's cool.
So you can identify it. Here's the code on the back.
So, I don't know. This one's weird to me. But what is neat is that she has received the support of the students. There's been an online petition that's gone around for her that's amassed over 3,000 signatures describing her as the victim of a blatant attack on her privacy.
Good.
But also, oddly, is that she has been receiving harassment there. The Times has reported that there have been color copies of the photograph with a handwritten message that were left in her mailbox.
Oof.
There. So that part's getting kind of creepy.
People are awful.
Yeah, I wish she wouldn't have lost her
As
job.
a collective, we're terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish she wouldn't have lost her job over it. However, don't keep that stuff on your phone. I mean, just at the end of the day, like, I don't know.
It's not very smart.
I don't know. Yeah,
It's
so
it's illegal to break into a car, but if you have a convertible and leave the top down,
it's kind of your fault. Just kidding.
I
It's
always
not
leave
your
my
fault.
top down. I'm just kidding. I don't.
You're wearing a shirt today. So that is the news that we have today. Feel free to follow us on all forms of social media. We mainly would love to connect with you over at faithandwhatever.com. If you have any questions or any topics that you would like our opinions on, which, come on, we got plenty of opinions to share with you. We would love to connect with you.